Good morning. I force a smile this morning. My topic isn't one that brings joy to my heart. Let me just begin. The title is When Our Children Suffer. Okay, I guess I will talk about that. Reluctantly. Last night I attended a fundraiser for an orphanage in South Africa. The keynote speaker was Roland Komakai, a man from Liberia who, when he was 3 months old, was put in a box and taken to the village dump by his parents, abandoned to die. He was rescued to live a life of abuse and neglect until his latter teens, when he awakened. Today he is an inspirational speaker among many other talents. He lives in Texas. He went back to Africa some time ago, found his parents, and forgave them. His story is one of thousands upon thousands of abandoned children around the world who come into our world to face abuses that are often unspeakable. It's hard for me to even think about it, which is why I feel reluctance to talk about it this morning. I feel a deep pain inside when our children suffer. Can't we do better than this? I include a link to his webpage in the blurb, and of course it will show up on Facebook as well when I post it there later. As I went into the meditation room this morning, and actually before I even got out of bed, I was wanting something inspirational. And as I went back after I came out and got the globe, but this is the globe that I hold in my hands. Oftentimes in the mornings when I go into the meditation room, it sits on a table right in front of the chair that I sit in to meditate now. I came to the computer wanting something good to talk about. And probably 10 minutes or so passed after I got to the computer, and I still hadn't put down a title. Because I was seeing the images of those children, not the ones that made it, but the images of two of the children that didn't make it, eaten alive by fire ants. I heard stories of some of the children that were in the orphanage. One of them tied to railroad tracks by her mother to be run over by a train, just a baby, just a little one. We all have, at least most of us, have an affinity toward little ones, whether little ones of humankind or animal kind. Puppies and kittens are cute, and little baby animals are so cute, and little baby humans are so cute. How can we abuse the little ones? And I'd rather look anywhere else than to look at that kind of abuse. And I think of what's happening in Gaza and what's happening in some of the troubled places around the world, in Iraq and in Afghanistan, and the places where our war machine has been unleashed, and where the arms dealers have turned children into merciless soldiers. There were pictures of that too, or a picture of that last night, of a young, maybe 12 or 13-year-old boy with an MK-47. And Roland shared how when Liberia was attacked from the east, how parents were murdered in front of their children, and then the children were taken and trained to be soldiers so that they could go in turn kill other parents in front of their children and create monsters out of little children that hadn't even gotten a chance to grow up. The orphanage was a happy place, and they're trying to put an addition on it, which is why they were raising money. It appeared from what they pointed to in a map to be over toward Rhodesia, but it's in South Africa, I assume the country of South Africa. And Roland came and donated his time, coming from Texas, to be the keynote speaker, because the story that was his story, though his turned out happily, many of them don't. And it was an effort by caring people to rescue whatever children they're able to rescue. And the orphanage was busting at the seams and needed more space. And so they're adding more space to take on 25 more children. And their goal was to raise only $10,000 for the materials needed to put the addition on. The labor was provided free in South Africa. The people there would do the work. All they needed was the materials. $10,000 to potentially save 25 more children. The story could be repeated probably hundreds of times at least, of places in the world where there are good-hearted people that see the problem and do what can be done to help. But I realized, as I struggled here this morning, how difficult it is even for me to want to face these horrible truths about what happens in our world, what is happening in the 21st century, when there is so much wealth, not just measured in money, but measured in creativity and even measured in vision. We have such a vision. I have such a vision. And sometimes the universe puts in my face the need to look at it, to look at the problem. I get upset at people sometimes because they don't want to talk about negative things. By that I mean they don't want to look at the situation of the financial system and the government as it is in the world. And it frustrates me because I believe if we don't look and if we don't admit that this is our world, we can't fix it. We can't raise the level of consciousness to the point where we can actually change the world. I know the internal stuff. I know the psychology. It's my own psychology, and I had it put in my face this morning as I faced my own reluctance to even want to talk about this, to even want to bring the subject up. I went last night because one of the ladies in our Thursday group, who lives part-time in America, or in the United States, and part-time in Great Britain and England, and she earlier in the year visited South Africa, and she and her husband were greatly moved by the story of this orphanage and the story of the orphans. she was willing to do something about it. She brought it to our group and to the church with Ron Fox, and they helped raise some money. I don't know what the fund was. I didn't stay till they if they announced later how much money was collected. There were not even 100 people there, and they wanted to raise $4,000 of the money needed. I doubt they did, but I don't know. The people that were there that I do know, they're not rich people. And you could be raising money for lots of orphanages. And they were just doing one little orphanage and enabling them to take on 100 more children. 25 more children. And I realized as I was thinking about this morning and wondering what to talk about, God, I don't want to talk about that because I feel so helpless in the face of the suffering that I know is going on all over the planet. And I don't want to suffer myself to make me feel less guilty. Because why should I not suffer when they're suffering? That's a part of the inner dialogue that I hear in my own head. The monkey mind, the chatter. And I've heard that story from soldiers that survived and are living well. And then I think of some of the modern channelers and New Thought, New Age ministers that talk about focusing only on the positive. Focus on what you want, not on what you don't want. Almost like turn your head away from the pain, or you'll get more pain. My vision is for a world that we stop the pain, we stop the suffering, we stop the unnecessary abuse, and all abuse is unnecessary. And I think it's spiritual abuse to teach people to turn away from the shadow elements of our world, the shadow elements of our individual lives, the inner wounded child in each of us that cries out for love. We'd rather look at the smiling faces of the children as they play and as they sing, which was shown last night as well. They were happy children in the orphanage. Happy children. Some of them have gotten adopted. Some of the children that were in the image, in the picture, have already been adopted into families. But others haven't been. All of them came there as babies, as little ones. Some of them are now 5 and 6 years old. It's been going on for 5 to 6 years. And it's at maximum capacity. Just one place in one country. Africa is devastated by this kind of need all over the continent, but through the Middle East and through Southwest and Southern Asia especially. Those are areas that we know about. In Latin America, children abandoned, running the streets, living in poverty conditions, while we have people that run the world and all they think about is how they can get more money and more control over the resources. It makes me sick. It makes me feel so sad. I don't really think it does make me sick because I hardly ever get sick. And I don't even know how to end this. And I don't even like talking about it. But when are we going to wake up and fix the problem? And how are we going to do it? What help are we going to be given so that we can put in charge of our world leaders that have a heart and have compassion, instead of leaders that have been trained by the abuse of their own parents in the elite establishment of our world, trained to be heartless tyrants. Yeah, that's the world we live in, folks. It's our world. Are we going to turn our head? I know. I hear you. I don't like looking at it either. I'd much rather look at the happy faces and hear the joyful singing and watch the children dancing. I'd much rather do that. But apparently, Spirit wanted me to talk about this today. Examine your own hearts is my invitation. What can you and I do to help the world heal? Begins by healing our own heart, as Roland did, going back and forgiving the very people that threw him away when he was 3 months old. Forgiveness and compassion are the key to changing the world. Thank you for listening. Namaste. Namaste.